Wanted to do another video about the Magewell Director Mini right here. I have it set up in a strange way, but I'm taking the output of it and recording that. I'm actually recording that on my YOLO box. I've got a mic set up here, so I'm using the mic in, just a Magewell camera mic. I have an HDMI coming from my computer, so that's going right here. That's just going to my laptop so that I can show you how the UI works. And I have a second HDMI which is not plugged in yet, but I do want to plug in into my Sony camcorder, and this is an AX53. It's a 4K capable camcorder, and I just want to sort of walk through some resolution questions. The other last thing is over NDI, which you can see here. I have an iPhone camera, and that's up above. That's all coming in over wireless using NDI, and that gives me just sort of a view of everything down below. But you should also be seeing the interface here. I plugged in a mouse so that I can interact with the Magewell directly with a mouse, as well as on the computer I have a second mouse, and I can show you how that works over there. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to show is when you're working on an input, like this is the NDI input, when you click to edit it, let's see if it's a long press. Yeah, long press, edit. This menu comes up, and this gives you a lot of control. This is effectively how you compose a scene, and so you can add other inputs. Like this is my computer input coming in on HDMI 1. You can add different audio settings. You can do other things here. This is a layering system, so I can have that layer move down. I can then go to this layer and have that layer move down, and move this one back up. You can scale things. You can rotate things, which is pretty amazing. So you can come up with some pretty crazy composite views. So unlike the YOLO box, which is more of a here's some fixed views and here's some minor adjustments, I'm sure you can imagine some crazy things you can do. Like you can do completely bizarre things with different layers. But in addition to inputs, you can choose pictures, video clips. So an example from a picture, we'll just pull in a little logo, or this was maybe a background that I want to use, and you can incorporate those into your scenes. As you can see, there's a limit on how many things you can bring into your scenes. This is where you can compose text. So if you wanted to have some default text and then edit that text, change the color of that text, etc., that's all doable here. But you get the idea. This is how you can compose pre-built scenes that are ready to go for your purposes. And then you can tidy things up and edit them for what you want. Okay, but the thing I wanted to get into is the fact that there's some additional information here which is valuable. This lets you position it, but size gives you a resolution setting. So this is telling me that this NDI feed is coming in at 1920 by 1080, which is good information that I didn't know where to find previously. And I wasn't sure what NDI-HX, the app running on my iPhone, was actually transmitting at, but this seems to make it clear that it's receiving something at 1920 by 1080. The resolution is the main thing I wanted to focus on for this. I'm going to hit save so that we're back at our main input. The thing that I had discovered and was kind of confused about is that the HDMI input output of my MacBook directly into the Director Mini. That seems useful for building graphics, things like that. But again, I'm only seeing 1080. And I know that from the resolution settings on my Mac. And I thought I could see them here. Oh yeah, there they are. So in that size field, 1920 by 1080 is the, let's see if we go full screen. It's interesting that the ratio is not quite what I would expect. Okay, but full screen, save. So that's where I wanted to go with this camera, because I know that this camera is a 4K camera, and I wanted to sort of work through what's going on. So I'm going to plug it in to the HDMI 2 input. using a mini HDMI. We can go over here, and this had been recently not powered, so we're just going to go through the original setup. Okay, so setting my time zone, next, date settings. I don't really care, so we'll leave that all alone. Sony wants me to use their app. Okay, so now I am using the camera, and you can see that it has clean HDMI out. But then what I wanted to know was, what do I see here? I need to figure out what the equivalent is of the long press. In size, I see 1920 by 1080, so I'm still not seeing a 4K resolution coming out of my camera. And so I know in my camera menus, I can do maybe setup, media, download. This seems like the right sort of spot. Yeah, HDMI resolution. Great, we found it in the menu. So I'm going to click over to 2160, which is 4K, and say OK. And what's curious about that setting is it does say 2160 1080. I'm also interested in control for HDMI. So I'm still seeing 1080. I'm going to unplug HDMI and plug it back in. See if that has any bearing. No, still seeing 1080. How about we go and change that last control for HDMI, maybe turn that off. I've seen that kind of have some negative effects. Close. So I will unplug, and I will plug it back in. Hit size. So just to be clear, my goal is really to have the Magewell and my camera work at 4K. And to the best of my knowledge, what I'm seeing from this size sub-menu of the display settings is that I'm not getting 4K count from my camera. So that's the plug-in, that's the direct connection. I have heard of people getting 4K signals into their Magewell, and I don't know why I'm not.